To all the skeptics in the comments, I promise this is my actual biological voice you're hearing, not an AI, it's 100% organic. I haven't had a firmware update in years. Welcome back to the channel, you beautiful, exhausted, disaster tourists. If you're here, cause your PC just tried to write a sympathy poem for your deleted browser history, you're in the right place. It's 2026, and we are officially living in the Slop era. Remember when Microsoft stood for spreadsheets and blue screens of death? At least the blue screen was honest. It was a failure you could respect. Now, Microsoft has rebranded its entire existence around generative AI, and the result is a digital landfill. For the casual fans who just clicked this ad to see why their laptop sounds like a jet engine taking off, while they're only looking at a PDF, welcome to the slop. The term slop didn't come from a boardroom. It came from the collective groan of millions of users who realized that every single update in the last year has been a desperate attempt to make a chatbot your best friend. Microsoft executives are currently acting like a middle manager at a Christmas party who just discovered TikTok. It's loud, it's cringy, and nobody can leave because he's standing in front of the only exit. They call it AI first. I call it common sense last. Imagine buying a car, and instead of a steering wheel, the manufacturer gives you a digital co-driver that tries to guess where you want to go based on your Spotify playlist. I see you're listening to Taylor Swift. Would you like to drive into a lake and cry? No, Microsoft, I just want to go to the grocery store. They've spent billions, literally billions, of your subscription dollars to inject this slop into the Windows Start menu. Remember when the Start menu was a list of programs? Now it's a chaotic mosaic of recommended AI hallucinations and news articles about celebrities you've never heard of. It's not an operating system anymore, it's a digital slot machine, designed by people who hate productivity and the desperation. Oh, it's delicious. It's like they're trying to hypnotize the shareholders. If we say AI 400 times in this earnings call, maybe they won't notice that the search bar still can't find a file on my desktop named taxes PDF, even though I'm looking right at it. Microsoft looked at the Windows Vista era, the undisputed heavyweight champion of what were they thinking, and said, hold my overpriced artisanal water, we can go deeper. Vista was just buggy. Windows 11 in 2026 is predatory. It's a corporate hallucination where they think we want a computer that talks back. We don't. We want a silent, obedient tool. But in the Slop era, your computer is a high-maintenance roommate who constantly interrupts your work to show you a cool AI-generated image of a dog in a tuxedo that has 6 legs and 3 tails. It's not innovation, it's a personality trait. Microsoft has become that guy who makes being into CrossFit his entire identity. You can't even open a notepad without a pop-up asking if you want the AI to rewrite your grocery list in the style of Shakespeare. Why? Because the stockholders are crying and AI is the only tissue they'll accept. It's a digital parasite and your hardware is the host. Let's talk about the betrayal. If Microsoft is the toxic boyfriend of the tech world, Dell was the long-suffering best friend who finally realized they're better off alone. Dell, the company that built an empire selling beige boxes to people who work in cubicles, is quietly quitting. You see it on the shelves. You see the Copilot branding on the boxes, but it looks like a hostage note. Dell is contractually obligated to play along because Microsoft's legal team is basically a legion of Terminators in tailored suits. But look at the specs, casual viewers. Look at the marketing. Dell is pivoting. They're moving back to things like battery life and thermal management. Why? Because the Copilot key is the 3D TV of the 2020s. Do you remember 3D TVs? For about 6 months in 2011, every tech company on earth tried to convince us that wearing plastic glasses in our living rooms was the future. We all collectively looked at each other and said, nah, I'd rather just eat my chips in peace. The Copilot key is that same level of please buy this. It's a dedicated hardware button for a chatbot that mostly tells you it can't help with that request or provides a link to a Bing search you didn't ask for. Dell realized that people aren't buying laptops because they want a shortcut to a hallucinating AI. They're buying laptops to, do stuff. The AI PCs were supposed to be the second coming of computing. Instead, they're just regular PCs that run hotter than a George Foreman grill because the NPU, neural processing unit, is constantly trying to predict whether you're going to click on a cat video or an Excel sheet. Dell's engineers aren't idiots. They see the return rates. They see the users who accidentally hit the Copilot key, watch a sidebar slide out like an unwanted guest at a party, and then spend the next hour on Reddit trying to figure out how to disable the hardware button they paid for. It's a curved screen situation. Remember when every phone had to have a curved screen for no reason? It made the phone harder to hold and the screen easier to break. That is the 2026 Windows hardware landscape. Microsoft forced these AI specs on manufacturers, and Dell is the first one to start sneaking toward the fire exit. They're shifting back to privacy-first and efficiency-first models, because shocker, your computer is spying on you for your own good is a hard sell when the competition is a Chromebook that just opens the document. Dell is realizing that the average person doesn't want a Copilot. They want a pilot. They want to be the ones in control. Adding a dedicated AI key is like adding a self-destruct button to a microwave. It's fancy, it's new, but mostly it just makes people nervous. We need to talk about the hostage situation. In a move that has Microsoft executives screaming into their $500 silk pillows, Windows 10 is gaining market share in 2026. It's the immortal king. It's the old reliable ex you realize was actually pretty great compared to the sociopath you're dating now. Microsoft has spent the last year trying to murder Windows 10. They've sent pop-ups that look like malware. They've hidden the no button behind 3 menus. They've practically sent a guy to your house to take your keyboard. And yet people are clinging to it like the last lifeboat on the Titanic. Why? Because Windows 11 has become a mandatory digital panopticon. You can no longer set up Windows 11 without an internet connection. In the old days, way back in 2024, you could buy a PC, take it home, and just use it. Now, if you aren't logged into a Microsoft account, if you haven't agreed to let 13 different telemetry services track your mouse movements, and if you haven't synced your soul to a cloud you never asked for, your $5,000 gaming rig is a very expensive, glowing paperweight. It's a hostage crisis disguised as security. Microsoft tells you that you need the cloud for safety. What they mean is they need your data to train their AI slop so they can sell it back to you. Casual fans, imagine if your fridge refused to open unless you told it your mother's maiden name and agreed to watch a 30-second ad for yogurt. That's Windows 11. People are looking at the Windows 11 taskbar, which is now basically a billboard for AI surveillance, and saying I'm good thanks. They'd rather use an obsolete operating system that doesn't track their every sneeze than move to an OS that feels like it's constantly over your shoulder taking notes. Microsoft's relevant content is just corporate speak for targeted ads for therapy and Temu. Windows 10 doesn't try to co-pilot your life. It doesn't have an opinion on your browsing habits. It just sits there and lets you click on things. In 2026, not being bothered is the ultimate luxury feature. Microsoft is trying to build a digital prison, and the users are responding by digging their heels into the dirt of 2015. It's the ultimate old man yells at cloud moment, except the old man is right and the cloud is trying to steal his identity and sell it to a Russian botnet. When your loyal user base starts creating open source scripts specifically designed to surgically remove your revolutionary features, you haven't made an innovation, you've made a virus. In 2026, the hottest download on GitHub isn't a game or a productivity app, it's a debloater script. There is a massive underground movement of users performing digital chemotherapy on Windows 11. They are literally ripping the AI components out of the OS with the precision of a diamond heist. And can you blame them? Let's look at the snipping tool. For a decade, the snipping tool was the most humble, perfect app. You hit a shortcut, you drag a box, you get a picture. Perfection. But Microsoft, in their infinite slop wisdom, injected Copilot into it. Now, when you take a screenshot of a funny cat or a receipt for your boss, the AI chimes in. I see you've screenshotted a cat. Would you like me to analyze its emotional state? Would you like me to generate a 400-word blog post about feline anxiety? No. I want to send a picture of a cat to my mom. It's bloatware on steroids. It's like buying a toaster that refuses to pop up until it finishes analyzing the bread's vibrational frequency. The remove Windows AI tools are the only thing keeping the PC enthusiast community from throwing their rigs out the window. It's a battle for the soul of the computer. On one side, you have Microsoft trying to turn your desktop into a billboard for their AI partners. On the other, you have people who just want to use Photoshop without a chatbot asking if they want to try a more inclusive color palette for the sky. If you have to break your operating system just to make it usable, the operating system is already broken. These resistance tools are essentially community-made patches for a corporate-mandated disaster. We are living in an era where the users are more competent than the developers, and the developers are too busy chasing AI synergy to notice that their flagship product is being treated like an infection. October 2026. Mark your calendars, because that's the day Microsoft plans to pull the plug. It's the great shove. They're stopping security updates for older versions of Windows, essentially saying, nice computer you got there. Be a shame if a script kiddie from 1998 found a way into your bank account because we decided to stop protecting you. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off. Spoiler, it's backfiring spectacularly. You can smell the desperation coming off Redmond. It's that metallic ozone scent you get right before a circuit board fries. While they're threatening their users with digital extinction, the company is quietly hemorrhaging talent. Massive layoffs are the background noise of 2026. Turns out, when you bet the entire company on a technology that spends half its time hallucinating that 25225, the bill eventually comes due. Xbox is cratering because they forgot that people buy consoles to play games, not to talk to AI NPCs that repeat the same 3 lines of dialogue. Windows 11 is a PR nightmare, and the Slop era is proving to be a financial black hole. They're trying to mask the bad news with more AI announcements. It's like watching a chef serve you a plate of burnt hair, and then, when you complain, he says, but have you tried the AI-enhanced burnt hair? They've fired the QA teams, the people who actually make sure things work, so they could hire AI ethics consultants who couldn't find a start button if it was glowing in the dark. Microsoft is a giant ship that has lost its rudder, and the captain is currently in the galley trying to teach the oven how to write Hakes. They are so desperate to prove that AI is the future that they are willing to burn their present to the ground. They aren't building a better OS, they're building a shrine to a god that doesn't exist, and they're using your CPU cycles to power the incense. We've reached the final stage of grief, the great Linux migration. For 20 years, tech nerds have joked about the year of the Linux desktop. It was the free beer tomorrow of the tech world. It was never actually going to happen. Well, congratulations Microsoft, you finally did it. You made Windows so unbearable, so invasive and so sloppy that normal, everyday people are looking at Linux and saying, you know what, learning how to use a terminal isn't that bad compared to having a chatbot watch me sleep. But it's worse than that. People aren't just going to Linux. Some people are rolling back to Windows 7. Think about the sheer weight of that statement. Windows 7 is 17 years old. It hasn't seen a security update since the era of the Harlem Shake. It is by all technical definitions a digital death trap. And yet, people would rather take their chances with a decade-old exploit than deal with the Slop of 2026. When your future is so bleak that people are nostalgic for an OS that still had a games folder with Minesweeper, you know you've peaked in the worst way possible. People don't want innovation if it means loss of control. They don't want intelligence if it means surveillance. Microsoft is at an existential crossroads, but they've already turned the steering wheel toward the cliff. They could listen to the fans. They could release Windows 11 Lite, a fast, clean AI-free version of the OS. People would pay $200 for that in a heartbeat. But they won't do it. Why? Because you can't show Windows 11 Lite to a shareholder and tell them it's going to disrupt the AI landscape. Instead, they're choosing the path of maximum resistance. They're driving the car off the cliff while screaming innovation, cloud synergy at the top of their lungs. They're betting that you're too lazy to switch, too tired to fight, and too dependent on their ecosystem to leave. Bottom line for the casual fans, keep your Windows 10 installed disk under your pillow like it's a golden ticket. Buy an extra SSD and hide it. Because in the world of Slop, the only way to win is to not play the game.